to get kind of close to 1,000 fans every week, I think you really feel the difference. It's not 10,000 like it was at Portman Road, but because it's smaller, you notice it just as much. And yeah, the fans are incredible. Like I said, they give you that bit of extra momentum when the game's tough. You know, if you do something good, you hear a little chant from the fans, and yeah, it really boosts the confidence as well.
Welcome back to the Blue Monday podcast, to Ipswich Town, number 11, Lucy O'Brien, our favourite member of the ITFC Women's team. Lucy, how are you doing? A few days out from Plymouth, how's things?
Yeah, really good. Had a good week of training, recovered well from the game at the weekend, and yeah, looking to kick on to this weekend now.
I was going to ask you about last weekend, Watford. Tougher position, probably a sign of how expectations and performances have been raised this season, that we're maybe frustrated to come away with a draw against them.
Yeah, I think that's a really good sign. You know, they were in the Championship last season, they've come down, and I think for us to feel like we probably had momentum for large parts of the game and could well have got a result, I think that's a really good sign. And I think the fact, like you said, we were a bit disappointed and frustrated, I think, you know, that really shows our ambitions for the season and where we want to be. And it's a really positive take to have, yeah.
And for you personally, I've kind of observed that you're maybe in a deeper role. You did do that last season, but against a team like Watford, who you won't play too much with that level of stature this season, that must have been a kind of a big challenge for you as well. Quite a lot of physical demands of you, I suspect. Yeah,
definitely. And, you know, I think the way we play, we have to be deep in that role, but we also need to get forward to support the attackers. So yeah, physical output, it demands a lot. And then obviously, you know, it's a deeper area on the pitch and you do not want to lose the ball in that position, as I've experienced before. So yeah, you've got to use my body a bit more to protect the ball. But yeah, it's a challenge I like to take in my stride, and I'm enjoying playing deeper, which is good.
Brilliant stuff. Well, we'll kind of talk a little bit about last season, because some kind of big milestone moments for the women's team more generally, and for you in your footballing career. We'll kind of talk about where things are at right now, and we'll briefly look ahead to Plymouth on Sunday as well, I should say. Let's start with last season. We've got a few questions from our friends at Blue Monday who are involved in our sponsorship, which we're really proud to continue for another season. A lot of questions about playing at Portman Road from Matt. Paul kind of asks what your proudest moment of last season was. That it? That kind of the 10,000 plus gate at Portman Road and walking out of there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, don't get me wrong. Of course, there was other amazing moments. I think Lewis at home just before Christmas stands out. But yeah, I think the game at Portman Road was just such an incredible experience. I think something I was really proud to be a part of. I think a day that I will remember forever and hold very close to my heart. You know, the feeling walking out in front of over 10,000 people. And I remember just as I walked out, the roar from the crowd, and I just said to Summer, who was in front of me, oh my gosh, this is insane. So yeah, I think that has to be the proudest moment from last season.
Oh, just an observation from me on that game. I mean, you kind of went to a different level. I mean, you ended up with like a Terry Butcher style bandage. You got stuck in, didn't you? I remember you kind of charging in and kind of giving that game 100%. I guess that kind of atmosphere, and Phil asks about Matt asks, about the gates at the AGL growing, which is what we wanted off the back of that game. That must give you an extra bit of energy and impetus, doesn't it, having that backing behind you?
Yeah, I mean, I think at Portman Road, that was kind of that was shown in the fact that I went in for a header that I probably wouldn't normally go in for, and ended up, like you said, with Terry Butcher style head injury. But yeah, I think that bit of momentum, the extra energy that you feel from the crowd, it really does help. And I think, you know, the AGL is obviously a smaller arena than Portman Road, and to get kind of close to 1,000 fans every week, I think you really feel the difference. It's not 10,000 like it was at Portman Road, but because it's smaller, you notice it just as much. And yeah, the fans are incredible. Like I said, they give you that bit of extra momentum when the game's tough. You know, if you do something good, you hear a little chant from the fans, and yeah, it really boosts the confidence as well.
Chris asks this one. I kind of link this one in now. A lot more attention on the women's team, which is brilliant. You and your teammates part of a lot of content going out on social media. Obviously, 10,000 people, as you mentioned, at Portman Road, and really healthy gates at the Martello ground as it is now. Has that kind of spilled into normal life for you? Are you getting spotted and people saying hello to you in random locations?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, obviously not as much as some people may think, but I've been at work a couple of times, and I think there's one fan he follows the men everywhere, and he comes in with this little boy, and there was a bit of a moment probably a few months ago now where he kind of did a double take and thought he recognised me, and he had an Ipswich badge on his hat, so I obviously was like, oh, it's an Ipswich fan, and I think in the end he ended up kind of looking at me a bit odd, and I was like, oh, I play for the women's team, because there was obviously that kind of recognition. So yeah, we had a chat. I think we got a selfie while I was in my work uniform, which was a bit funny.
Nice.
Yeah, and now he comes to quite a lot of our games as well, and I see him, and I like to wave at him and make sure that he kind of knows that I recognise him and appreciate his support.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. It goes two ways. That I bumped into Nina Miolo outside Ipswich train station a few weeks back and went, "Hi, Nina," as if I was like her best mate, and she like totally blanked me, as of course she would, because it's weird, not only because it's a random bloke, but yeah, you kind of don't join the dots to it. So that's the kind of stuff we want. We want the women's team to be recognised and for people to be hello and polite and nice to you. So that's great. That's great to hear. The summer has obviously been a real time of change for the club, thanks to the elevation of the men's team to the Premier League. A lot of investment in facilities at Portman Road and presumably at Playford Road as well. Chris kind of asks, Chris and Nick kind of talk about, are you seeing those kind of improvements extending to the women's team as well in terms of preparation and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I think every year I've been at Ipswich, there's been such a vast improvement in the professionalism and, the facilities, all the small things that we get. When I first came, I was 16 years old joining the academy, and it was just around COVID time as well. So we'd kind of turn up, leave our bags on the pitch, train and go home. Whereas now, obviously, we get access to the gym, we get access to the canteen. And yeah, just the whole kind of professionalism, the environment. I think shout out to Rachel as well, who's come in as our GM. I think she does a fantastic job making sure that she's pushing us and, really getting as much as she can for us in the women's team, and yeah, really driving our opportunities so that, we can get as much as we want.
Yeah, is the analytics side improving as well? It's something that, us football nerds love talking about on our podcast, but it's kind of a key part of the game in kind of the modern era, isn't it? Is that something that is improving too?
Yeah, I think we've got a new analyst in this season who is fantastic. She codes the games, and I was going through it the other day actually after the Watford game, and I was just looking through every single code that she does for the game, and it must take her hours. I don't know how she does it, but to have that, at a click of a button, it's just another 1% that can give us a really good advantage.
What are the kinds of things are you looking at there? That is it kind of key moments and possession turnovers and all that? Can you give us an insight into the kind of stuff you're looking at?
Yeah, so I mean, we all get our individual clips from a game, so I'm pretty sure that Abby clips every single pass, where it is on the pitch, from who to whom, and yeah, we get all those details, and then you get shots, type of shots, and it even goes as deep as to type of pass, type of shots,
Wow.
Area on the pitch, transition. So realistically, any kind of stat you want, you're able to find through that coding.
Brilliant. Must be a huge insight in helping you continue to develop and improve, which is great to hear. Another aspect of the summer, which I guess we have to talk about, you have a little bit more competition for places, shall we say, than maybe before. Talk about the kind of characters in the new additions and what they brought, particularly to maybe training, maybe more the match day. Obviously, the level is, they're signed with good experience. But is there anything about raising the level more generally behind the scenes that maybe we don't anticipate?
Definitely, I think it's only been a good thing. We've brought in 5 or 6 players that have that experience of the higher level, and I think it's only beneficial. From the outside, it might look like more competition, but it is healthy, if anything. We're all pushing each other to be better in training and on match days. So, yeah, I think it's really helping to drive the standard. And I've definitely seen in training the level's gone up. Even yesterday at training, there was a drill we did, and I was speaking with Kyra, and I think last year it might have had to have been adapted so that we could actually have success. But this year we were just able to do it. We were able to reach the pass threshold to move on to the next bit. So I think that's really positive that not only is the standard going up, but also our kind of levels and where we want to be, that's also going up as well.
And presumably the team spirit as well is still good. We talked about the kind of great squad kind of cohesion that you had and the great kind of community feel about the squad. Presumably that's continued as well.
Yeah, of course. I think with such an influx of players, you might think, oh, is everyone going to get along, especially with, people with different experiences coming in. But I think it's been really positive. Like I said, I mean, I get on well with everybody. I think the players that we've brought in have been great. I know Mark Ashton always speaks of signing the right type of player. And I'm sure that that's the same for our team. And, the staff did their checks. They made sure that it was people who we wanted to have at the club. And yeah, I can only speak good things of them all since they've come in.
Brilliant. In terms of the season so far, I mean, you started the season on fire, didn't you? In terms of the goals, it's something that we've talked about before. In fact, I think we've got a pretty good record of having a chat and then you scoring in the next game. So I'm keeping everything crossed for you for Sunday. Paul asks what your kind of personal ambitions are for the season.
Yeah, I think probably if you'd have asked me in pre-season, my answer would have been different. But now I think, I've got some really good minutes under my belt and I think I'm in a good place, found a good bit of momentum. So I think it's just keeping that going. I think as a team, obviously we want to get promoted. That is the goal. I don't think anyone's going to hide away from that. But I think personally, just ticking over, getting good minutes, hopefully performing well to the level that I know I can. And yeah, hopefully come the end of the season, it's a positive result for the team and I've had a good season individually.
Yeah, we've known you for quite a few seasons now. I think it's fair to say that probably this season more than ever, I kind of feel like you just belong. You look really confident in yourself. You've obviously worked really hard. Do you have that sense as well? Do you feel kind of, I guess you're still quite young, but you've been in this team for a few seasons now. Are you feeling established and part of the ITFC furniture?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think the first couple of seasons I did feel like I was an academy player playing up. And now I almost feel like I am part of the women's team. And yeah, I think I've got a kind of sense of confidence that comes with that. And obviously we've had new players come in, so, that they've brought experience as well. And you might think that knocks a bit of confidence, but if anything, they've just helped me grow as a player, and having their backing as well has also helped me grow with confidence. And yeah, like I said, I think the run of games I've had where I've put in some good performances, I think I'm just in a good place with high levels of confidence and yeah, just really enjoying my football.
A random question for me very quickly. You are one of our key penalty takers. We've definitely spoken about the Southampton Cup game before. Can you, as a muggle here, who's never played football to any good level, can you just give me an idea of your kind of process of taking a penalty?
Yeah, I think kind of initially we get given the penalty and I'm like, okay, brilliant, here we go. And then you have that moment of, oh gosh, it's a penalty, like the responsibility's on me. But then quickly, for me, it's just getting rid of those negative thoughts and just thinking only going to score, really visualizing it. Kind of, I think the Lewis game, there was 3 minutes between the penalty being given and me taking it, which isn't that long,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a palaver. It doesn't sound that long, but kind of when you're just there with your thoughts, it feels like a long time. But what we've actually done recently is someone else kind of taken the ball, and if then there's any of the opposition players trying to get in their heads, it doesn't affect me, and I just kind of take myself off. And like I said, I just kind of think about what I'm going to do. I decide on the Saturday which way I'm going to go, and then I never change my mind. Because I, everyone says never change your mind. So once I've decided, that's it. Even if I have a bit of doubt as to whether the keeper's guessed, I don't change my mind. And I always think to myself, if it's a good enough penalty, it will go in anyway. So that's kind of my thought process. And
for any opposition goalkeepers who are watching or listening, Lucy changes it all over the place and sticks it right in the corner. So you got no chance whatever. But great to hear about your process there. Let's look ahead to Sunday. A game, I think, at home park, isn't it? So a game in a good sized stadium, but against a side that's perhaps struggling this season a little bit. 3-0 defeat to Exeter midweek as well. We're on a good run, obviously looking to get a win on the board after the draw last week. So what's the kind of thinking in the camp ahead of Sunday?
Yeah, I think it's positive as always. sometimes long away trips are a bit tainted because people are a bit, traveling all that way. But I think, everyone just looks at it as another game. Equal importance as all the others. Some might say, Plymouth are struggling, but to us, every game is just as important as the last one, as the next one. We'll prepare exactly the same. We'll go into it as though they're going to be as equal opposition as Watford. Hopefully we'll get the 3 points.
You mentioned the kind of journey there. I think we do have to talk about that. How do you feel your long journeys? Because we are Ipswich, maybe more so than where you're located, a little bit out in the sticks a little bit. So long journeys are kind of a normal for us. How are you feeling that time?
I think you've just got to keep busy, keep distracted, do lots of different things. I think if you do the same thing for the whole 5 hours, you're going to get so bored. So for me, I take a book with me, quite often read a book. I think last time we went to Exeter, I read a whole book over the weekend.
Wow.
Which filled the time quite nicely. And then, sometimes playing card games is a good way. I think we always put the football on because we travel on the Saturday. So we put the football on at 5:30 or 12:30 whenever we're on the coach. And then obviously we put the 3:00 Gillette Soccer Saturday on. So we're entertained with that. Sometimes it's watching TV. Sometimes it's playing card games, just having a chat. Just got to try and fill the time as much as possible.
I haven't prepared Lucy for this, but we're going to throw some team members on the bus. We're going to do a positive and a negative. Who do you want sat next to you on the bus? Do you have a kind of a regular person you sit next to? And who's the one you don't want to be sat next to? Who's the bad traveller?
Gosh, I tend to sit alone. So I have a 2-seat to myself because I like the space. I take my blanket and my pillow and sometimes have a little sleep. I'd probably say I'd be quite happy to sit next to Izzy because obviously we travel all the time to and from training together.
Okay.
And she always just goes to sleep. So she wouldn't bother me at all because she would just be asleep. So that'd be fine. In terms of the worst one, there's a group who sit near the back.
Oh, the back of the bus. Yeah, we know.
Very loud. I've been woken up before from their shouts and screams. So any one of them, I mean, of course, I'd love to sit next to them all, but there's probably some negatives to how loud they are at times.
Fair enough. The wrong ones at the back of the bus, that's familiar for anyone who's ever got in a coach. So we all know what that is. So keep it down at the back where Lucy's trying to sleep. We're going to finish off with a few kind of short fire questions as well. Tom asks, who's your favourite player? He's left it open-ended. You can, whether it's a men's team player, women's player, whoever. I think we can out you as a Spurs fan here, can we not? At least the men's team.
Yeah.
Is that a theme for us? Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of watching, I love watching Kevin De Bruyne, especially maybe a couple of years ago in particular when he was at his prime and, just his ability to change the game. Loved watching Kevin De Bruyne. I am unfortunately a Spurs fan, like you said. So at the moment, Mickey van der Ven, I think he's incredible.
Great assist at Old Trafford, wasn't it?
So good. When he gets going, I don't think anyone can catch him. And then from the women's game, it's actually a bit different because I obviously was involved with the England youth setup and I know quite a few of the girls from that. So watching people that I've played with when I was kind of 13 years old now playing the WSL, so the likes of Aggie, Grace, I think for me, that's kind of a bit of a wow. Like, they're my friends. I still message them sometimes and see them kind of playing in the WSL. I'd say they're my favourite players, obviously, because they are my friends too.
Dare I ask about what happened with Spurs on Sunday? Did you watch the Brighton game?
Yeah, we don't.
What happened? Okay, we will move it on. I'll move it on. Fair enough. Wyatt asks your favourite goal that you scored.
I think for me, there's probably 3 that stand out for different reasons. So I think the first one is my first ever Ipswich game, not for the senior team, but for the academy. I think I was still playing at MK Dons and I'd come in to train a couple of times with the under-21s and they'd given me the opportunity to play in a game against West Ham. So it was my first ever game and I think I started and around the hour mark, the ball come out to me on the edge of the box. I've taken a touch and I've hit it on the half volley and it's kind of curled outwards and just nestled in the top corner. So I think that was one just because of the strike. It was just such a great moment. That was probably the best technical goal I've ever scored. And then Hounslow away was my first ever senior game. So it was my full Ipswich debut in the league. I came on off the bench and I think I scored a goal where I dribbled from my own half. I beat 2 or 3 players and slotted it away. So in terms of kind of moment, that was quite special for me, obviously on my debut. And then the other one is Newcastle a couple of years ago in the FA Cup. Left foot half volley, won the game 1-0 to get through to the round of 16, I think. So yeah, that was a special moment for me. Great goal. And yeah, really proud moment.
Brilliant stuff, Lucy. Well, as I said, we're manifesting a goal for you on Sunday. Either way, all the best for the long journey, and hopefully the folk at the back of the bus keep it nice and quiet for you. We're so proud of what you and the girls are doing. More and more people getting involved in our Friends of Blue Monday sponsorship as well. So a real endorsement for what you guys are doing, and all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.